this hearing, From Farm to Kitchen Table, How Consolidation Spikes Food Prices. I'm Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. I have the honor of representing this district, and we're so delighted. Thank you. We're so delighted that we have several of my colleagues here to join us, and so before we get officially started, I wanted to introduce them. Congresswoman Kim Schreier, also from our great state of Washington, who serves on the Energy and Commerce Committee, and prior to that did serve on the Agriculture Committee as well. Congresswoman Val Hoyle from Oregon, who has been a great champion of labor and sits on the House Transportation Committee and Natural Resources Committee, and Congresswoman Emily Randall, also from our state, who serves on the Oversight Committee, Natural Resources Committee, and chair of the Better Pay and Benefits Task Force on the Congressional Progressive Caucus. We're really pleased that we are kicking off the first official field hearing of the Monopoly Busters Caucus, which I formed in Congress along with colleagues Pat Ryan, Chris DeLuzio, and Angie Craig. Very grateful that Governor Ferguson is with us today. And you're going to hear from him shortly about his work and leadership in taking on consolidation monopolies, going back to the days when you were our Attorney General, and now, of course, in your position as governor. Also grateful to Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson for her support of this hearing. She's at the National Conference of Mayors, so she is not here, but we're delighted to be joined by Deputy Mayor Brian Surratt. And most of all, we're just very grateful to our witnesses, including some who have traveled from other states to be with us today. We really appreciate it, and I'll have a chance to introduce all of you formally when we get the hearing started. Just a few quick housekeeping items. I am running this the way we sort of run official hearings in Washington, D.C. So we'll have opening statements from our witnesses, and then 5 minutes of questions from our members of Congress after our introduction and welcomes. And we do have a timer. I'm not sure where it is. It says here. Oh, there it is. Okay. In the back, so that we can keep track of our time, and we'll do our best to alert you when time is up. We also are doing something different than we do in congressional hearings. We'll have an opportunity to take public testimony from anyone who would like to testify today and speak on this issue. You'll just have 1 to 2 minutes, so be aware of that, and we'll try to get in whatever we can. And the event is being live streamed by the Seattle Channel, and a recording will be available after the hearing concludes. With that, let me welcome Deputy Mayor Surratt for a brief welcome.
Thank you, Congresswoman Jayapal. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Surratt, and I am the Deputy Mayor here for the City of Seattle under the administration of Mayor Katie Wilson. As the Congresswoman noted, Mayor Wilson is a bad joke. She's in the other Washington, and doing what she needs to do in working with and connecting with other mayors throughout the country. As collectively, as cities, we try to solve some really, really challenging issues. Working closely with our state leaders and our federal leaders, it's really important for Mayor Wilson to be there. So she regrets not being here and joining you tonight. We're proud to host this important field hearing for the Monopoly Busters Caucus and to welcome members of Congress, Governor Ferguson, and other distinguished witnesses and members of the public. I want to extend a special thank you to the Congresswoman. We first met, was that 10 years ago here in City Hall. Yeah, so it's a time warp. And so I met Congresswoman Jayapal when City of Seattle was on the front edge of leading a movement around minimum wage. And at that time, I was just a lowly policy advisor for a former mayor, and we needed someone to bring the voice of the immigrant community to the table as we think about how do we make sure that workers have access to a livable wage. And Seattle led the way, and I just want to say thank you for your leadership during that time and driving that important work. And we've seen what that has done across the country. Also want to recognize Councilmember Lynn here, Seattle City Council member. Is he here? I thought I saw him pop in here, but I think he was going to come in later. Are there any other elected officials that I did not mention? There we go. So please stand, raise, stand and acknowledge. So, excellent. So tonight's hearing, From Farm Table to Kitchen Table, How Consolidation Spikes Food Prices, shines a light on a challenge that touches every household: the rising cost of groceries and the growing concentration of power in our food supply chain. From farms to factories to grocery stores, consolidation has made it harder for farmers, small businesses, and workers to survive, and harder for families to afford the basics. This conversation is critical for restoring fairness and competition in our food system and ensuring that everyone, from rural communities to urban neighborhoods, have access to affordable, quality food. Food equity is a top priority for Mayor Wilson's administration, and we look forward to the partnership that you all have been leading for years to come. Thank you again to the Monopoly Busters Caucus, to Congresswoman Jayapal, and to all of you for being here. Seattle's proud to host this dialogue, and we'll look forward to the ideas and actions that will come from this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Surratt. And now it's my honor to welcome our governor, Washington State's Governor Bob Ferguson. He is joining us in the midst of a really busy legislative schedule, and I know you came up from Olympia for this, and I'm just so grateful that you're here to address us and for all your work on this. Governor Bob Ferguson.
Thanks so much, Congresswoman, and thanks to the City of Seattle, Brian, to you and to the Mayor for hosting. First, is there a better name for any organization than Monopoly Busters Caucus? I'm just going to say that's number one. And the first reason I wanted to be here was to ask, I'm asking for a friend, can governors be honorary members of, is that right? I would love it. So it's a wonderful, wonderful caucus, and just really appreciate all the work that they do. And all the members of Congress who are here. I just have deep respect for every member of Congress who serves, especially if you're on the West Coast, traveling to the East Coast. That's a challenge on the personal side as well as professional. And it'd be challenging when times are good, and times are certainly challenging right now. And so please give a round of applause for all the members of Congress who are here for their service, which we so appreciate. I do want to take, before I give very brief remarks, the Congresswoman asked me to speak about a case really that I worked on as AG about the issues that are being touched on here. Just real briefly, one of the many great things about being governor is we have something called the Washingtonian of the Day. And it's a small award that we give out, the governor gives out. The criteria for the Washingtonian of the Day, by the way, is extremely strict. It's whoever the governor decides should be the Washingtonian of the Day on that particular day. That's the criteria. And so, you know, Pramila, Congresswoman, I have been so deeply appreciative of all you've done. I mean, really, I'm on behalf of a grateful state. I mean, truly, you know, this is just an example of that, right? Of organizing folks together on issues that affect Washingtonians all across our state who need representation. And you know, I'm just deeply appreciative of that, and particularly leadership during a really challenging time in our nation's history. And so typically the Washington of the Day is not an elected official. This may be the first time I presented it to an elected official, but I thought what better time and what better occasion than to present to our own Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal the most prestigious honor in Washington State, the Washingtonian of the Day. Give her a round of applause. So it was a surprise, as you could see. So I'm going to be brief. The Congresswoman asked me to say a few words, which was a pleasant thing to ask, to think back to my time as Attorney General, and some work we did around an antitrust case. And this case goes back to, as you recall, the proposed merger of Kroger and Albertsons, the grocery stores. They're two of the largest grocery stores owners in Washington State. And there was a proposed merger. Those two entities combined make up more than half of all the supermarkets we have in Washington State. And that proposed merger, it became very, very clear in talking to my antitrust team and talking to our partners at UFCW and the folks who work there, would do an awful lot of harm to the people of Washington State, to the workers, to the prices for Washingtonians on their grocery prices. Because guess what? When you consolidate like that, are prices going to go down? No, they are not. When you consolidate that kind of power at that level, only bad things are going to be happening. And at the time, we have an antitrust team in my office. When I became Attorney General, it was like 2 or 3 attorneys. which is not enough to take on big antitrust cases, I can assure you. And states typically don't really prosecute antitrust cases. Many states don't have an antitrust team at all for all practical purposes. We grew that team, and that was a good thing when this came along. We thought, let's take a look to see if we as a state could challenge that proposed merger. Could we as a state challenge that in court and actually stop it? And I was mused as we were researching it. There's lots of articles as we were looking at that case saying it could not be done by a state, that a state really could not pull this off, that the legal case was not strong. I did not listen to legal experts. I listened to my legal team in the AG's office, who, by the way, are fantastic, not just on antitrust, but civil rights work and standing up to this administration. They do incredible work in the AG's office. In the course of getting documents from Kroger's and Albertsons, one great thing about being Attorney General is you can essentially subpoena documents from these companies, right, when you're building your case. I'll just share one email from a vice president of marketing with Albertsons who wrote in an email that I suspect this individual did not want to see the light of day when we filed the case. It said, you are basically, when talking about the merger, you are basically creating a monopoly in grocery with the merger. It makes no sense. That's a vice president from Albertsons. That's a helpful document to have if you're bringing a lawsuit. Saying that there's a monopoly and it makes no sense. That's helpful. Another Albertsons executive wrote, it's all about pricing and competition, and we all know with this merger, prices will not go down. They knew. They're writing this to each other, and so we think about this conversation we're having. Like, I just want to put a point on this. These are the emails that are going on between executives at these large corporations that they don't think you're ever going to see. They know exactly what's going on, they know exactly what's going to happen, and they go forward anyway. So the good news in this story is my team brought this case. We were the first state to challenge them, and we brought a case right here in Washington State, and we won. We stopped the merger, right? So our partners at UFCW were huge partners for us on this, and just the last thing I will say is that it's an example, and I appreciate the chance to say a few words about it, but it's an example. We all have different roles to play. Different elected officials have different powers. Different elected officials, AGs have certain powers, governors, state legislators have powers. The representative has bills before the session this year that get at grocery stores and prices that are really important that we need to pass this session. We all have a role in this, and that's why I so appreciate all of you being here, being in this conversation with the really wonderful speakers we have and our congressional leaders. So it's just an honor to be here with all of you. I so appreciate the work that all of you are doing. I hope you have a really wonderful evening. Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Governor, for just all of the work that you've been doing and for the partnership as we continue this forward. All right, we're going to get started with the official hearing now, and so I want to recognize myself for 5 minutes for an opening statement. This hearing, as you heard, is the first of a series of field hearings that are hosted by the Monopoly Busters Caucus, a congressional caucus that consists of 34 members of Congress right now, including from some of the toughest, what we call swing districts in the country. We're dedicated to fighting corporate monopolies and making life more affordable in areas like healthcare, food, housing, and utilities. The caucus seeks to find legislative solutions that will restructure our economy so that consumers, workers, and small businesses can thrive, not just survive. Today, we're addressing consolidation in one of the most basic necessities of our lives, food. We've all seen the prices of groceries skyrocketing in recent years. And while the pandemic and global wars significantly strained the supply chain, it's also important to recognize that the very structure of consolidation is a central and crucial factor to the tremendous spike in grocery prices. Today, we rely on a very small group of mega corporations that control the supply chain, all the way from farm to table. For decades, corporations have swallowed up smaller competitors to the point that they can now raise prices and reduce choice without consequence. From the farms where the food is actually sourced, to the factory where the food is manufactured and distributed, to the grocery store where the food is sold to you, the consumer. So we start with the farms that grow our food. When talking about record high beef prices we see today, we see that 80% of the beef market is now controlled by just 4 companies: Cargill, JBS, Tyson, and the National Beef Packing Company. They control the slaughter, the processing, the distribution of most beef in the country, which has determined how much beef in this country costs and shortchanges farmers because those farmers have so few options of where they can actually sell their beef. This consolidation is seen in other agricultural sectors as well. Once the raw ingredients of food are harvested, they are processed and packaged by a very small set of corporations, like Kellogg, General Mills, and Kraft Heinz. If you walk down the aisles of your grocery store, you may see a million different brands, so you might even think that you have all these different choices of products manufactured by different companies. Brand competition, right? Wrong. All of these different brands are mostly owned by just a few companies. So when you think you're choosing between a box of cereal from Cheerios, Lucky Charms, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, you're actually buying cereal from just one company, General Mills. These goods are then distributed by wholesalers that dictate most of what ends up at the grocery stores. These distributors, like United National Foods and KEHE, eat into suppliers' margins by imposing burdensome and opaque fees, making it especially hard for small and medium-sized food businesses to break into the industry. Finally, the food arrives at the grocery store. The traditional supermarket industry has shrunk as a handful of big-name grocers have acquired their smaller local and regional rivals. And you heard from the governor about this. Now, Walmart, Kroger, Aldi, and Albertsons all own a third of all the U.S. grocery store locations. This grocery store consolidation gives the stores the ability to raise their prices and worsen working conditions without nearly any consequences to their bottom line. And that consolidation also results in store closures and boxes out independent grocery stores. These big grocers get really big, steep discounts in the foods that they buy that make it impossible then for small independent grocers to survive. And this has resulted in food deserts across the country. And we have a nationwide map. I don't think you can see it here, but it's a map that was just released by the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, and it actually identifies where there are food deserts across the country. So it's time that we address the consolidation head-on, and this hearing is the first step towards understanding the root causes of why our economy has failed to deliver affordable food for Americans and thinking of solutions to lower these costs. So I'm really grateful to my colleagues for being here and to all of our witnesses for being here to shine a light on what's happening in the food system. Several are based here in Washington State, but I know that a couple of you have traveled from other states, so we especially appreciate your making the time to be with us and speak about your experiences of the consolidated food system. So with that, it's my pleasure now to introduce today's witnesses. Mike Calicrate is an independent cattle producer, business entrepreneur, and family farm advocate based in Colorado Springs, Colorado. After earning his bachelor's degree in animal science, he began his career in cattle farming and ranching in Kansas in 1978. After growing his business there, he began speaking out against the growing market power of the meatpacking companies. In 2000, he formed Ranch Foods Direct to sell high-quality, naturally raised beef directly to customers instead of through large meatpacking companies. He's also been a founding member of farm advocacy groups, including RCAF and the Organization for Competitive Markets. Cynthia Duran is an entrepreneur and a small business owner based in Washington State. In 2021, she founded Zinca Foods, a Salvadorian frozen food company inspired by her cultural roots. The company is both a manufacturer and a consumer packaged goods brand. Based in Arlington, Washington, Zinca Foods is the first Salvadoran frozen food brand in the United States and has received national recognition for its innovation and contribution. Born and raised in Los Angeles, Ms. Duran worked as a data analyst for Fortune 500 companies prior to starting her food business. Melissa Rose has worked in retail stores for a decade and is currently an employee of Kroger's Fred Meyer's grocery store in Shoreline, Washington. She is also a line member and steward for the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW union. She previously worked in the Fred Meyer store located in the Lake City neighborhood of Seattle, Washington, until Kroger closed the store in October of 2025. Emily Chase is the co-owner of Chase's Market, a third-generation family-owned independent grocery store in Oregon. that focuses on providing healthy and organic produce for the community. Ms. Chase also serves on the board of directors of the Independent Natural Food Retailers Association, which represents and provides resources for independent natural retailers across the country. She earned her BA in Business Marketing and Music from the College of Idaho. Jonathan Kanter is the former Assistant Attorney General of the Antitrust Division of the Department of Justice from 2021 to 2024, a role that we worked very closely together on or in, and he was just a champion on this issue on so many levels. Prior to leading the Antitrust Division, Mr. Kanter was a partner in the Washington, D.C. offices of 2 national law firms and was the founder of a boutique antitrust law firm dedicated to promoting antitrust enforcement. Mr. Kanter began his career as an attorney for the Federal Trade Commission's Bureau of Competition. He earned his JD from Washington University in St. Louis and his BA from State University of New York at Albany. Thank you all for being here, and we ask that you summarize your testimony in 5 minutes. And to help you stay within that time, you've got the timer to keep track. Mr. Callicrate, please begin.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to be here. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. My name is Mike Callicrate. I'm a cattle and meat producer with operations in Kansas and Colorado. I'm here today because I have directly experienced the deterioration and near collapse of our agricultural system due to decades of abusive market practices, lax antitrust law enforcement, and growing monopoly control. In 1972, a local banker loaned me the money to buy my first cows. And in 1978, I built a commercial feed yard. The calf, feeder, and finished cattle markets were competitive and open to all producers. There were as many as 20 regional meat packers from 6 states willing to buy my cattle. Farms were diversified, employing family members, raising crops and livestock. But a decade later, the biggest meat packer, IBP, now owned by Tyson, came into the area and built the world's largest beef plant. It soon became clear that they were engaging in predatory pricing and leveraging their size to control supply. In a few short years, smaller independent regional plants closed, and IBP continued what the Wall Street Journal referred to as the death march, wiping out smaller plants across the country. As the plants went out of business, feed yards like mine struggled to sell our livestock to fewer and fewer buyers. Marketing windows narrowed, and take it or leave it, low bids became the norm. Feed yards were fearful to speak out, seeking relief from the misery of selling in a controlled market. They scrambled, like in a game of musical chairs, to align with IBP and the other big meat packers through what's known as alternative marketing agreements, or AMAs. AMAs gave the biggest feeders preferential treatment for providing the captive supplies used to depress the cash market. The big feed yards got bigger while the smaller, low-cost, and more efficient feeders went out of business. After speaking out against the consolidation, in 1996, I joined a federal lawsuit against IBP claiming anti-competitive practices under the Packers and Stockyards Act, a law designed specifically to protect the producers of livestock. By 1998, I was down to one buyer. Other big meat packers would occasionally drop by to offer what was referred to as a bid not to buy, a lowball price so low they knew I would reject it. The practice was used to condition desperate cattle sellers to eventually accept a lower price from their designated buyer. It was clear the highly profitable big meat packers were cooperating, delegating territories, and pushing prices lower for cattle producers while handing huge margins to the big grocery stores who charged higher prices unrelated to the price of cattle. I had 14,000 cattle in my feed yard when I was informed by my only buyer, National Beef, that they were done buying from me. I asked then Secretary of Agriculture Dan Glickman why he was not enforcing the Packers and Stockyards Act. He responded, and I quote, "In this modern day of globalization, we need big companies that can do business globally." I had no choice but to close my feed yard, and in 2000, I decided to scale back and sell meat directly to the consumer rather than live cattle to the meat packers. Meat packers continue to operate above the law. Overall, beef demand is at record highs, and the big four meat packers control 80% of the market and sell beef to an equally concentrated grocery store and food service sector. Today, the producer's share of the consumer dollar is down by almost 40% from when I bought my first cows. Over half our cattle producers are out of business. 86,000 independent feed yards like me are gone. Meanwhile, big meat packers like Tyson are shuttering plants in rural communities. In closing, I believe it's past time to break up the big meat packing, big retail, and big food service companies and aggressively rebuild, protect, and support local regional food infrastructure. Thank you for your leadership on this issue. I look forward to questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Callicrate. Ms. Duran, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Hi. I'm here as the founder of Zinca Foods, a frozen food company, but more importantly, as a small business owner navigating a system that is increasingly making it harder for independent manufacturers to survive. Zinca Foods is both a frozen food manufacturer and a consumer packaged goods brand, two different entities under one roof. We manage our own facility, regulatory compliance, production, labor, and logistics, while also handling marketing, sales, branding, and retail outreach. Both are time-consuming, highly regulated, and leave very little room for error. Zinca Foods is entirely self-funded. I have invested my own savings, and my family has invested their savings into this business. There's no venture capital behind us, no safety net, no wealthy backer absorbing early losses. Every decision carries real personal risk. This business represents years of sacrifice, long hours, and the belief that hard work and persistence should still mean something in this country. To scale a food manufacturing operation to a size where it can truly compete with established brands requires an enormous amount of money. This puts this type of venture out of reach for most people. Realistically, there are only two viable paths to achieve this: starting with and spending significant personal wealth, or securing an investor willing to fund the venture from the beginning. For founders without those advantages, the playing field is not level. It is structurally tilted against them. These challenges are compounded when dealing with large national distributors such as UNFI or KeHE, as small businesses that does not have the size or leverage to negotiate favorable terms. We spend an unwarranted amount of time addressing fees, deductions, and chargebacks. Many of these are not legitimate or are the result of errors. Yet disputing them requires time, expertise, and staffing that small businesses simply do not have. These practices quietly drain resources from small manufacturers, while larger companies are better positioned to absorb or bypass them. At the same time, smaller regional distributors, the ones that historically supported local and emerging brands, are disappearing due to consolidation. As national distributors dominate the market, competition shrinks. This market concentration removes any incentives for larger distributors to offer their services in a competitive way, which increases cost for manufacturers and ultimately raises prices for consumers. Fewer distributors means fewer choices, less innovation, and fewer opportunities for small businesses to grow. I say this plainly and honestly. For my self-funded entrepreneur, the American dream feels out of reach. When hard work, personal sacrifices, and family savings are still not enough to compete in a consolidated market, something is broken. The dream should not be reserved only for those who start wealthy or well-connected. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for fair treatment. We need people in positions of power to advocate for truly free markets, for independent manufacturers, and for the local distributors who still exist. Policies that address consolidation, promote transparency, and enforce accountability, which would help restore balance. If we care about entrepreneurs, local jobs, food affordability, and consumer choice, then we must care about who actually is able to participate in the market. I urge you to stand with small businesses like mine and help ensure that the American dream is not something we talk about in the past tense, but something future founders can still realistically pursue. As we peer into our society's future, we, you and I, and our government must resist the temptation to allow further consolidation of our CPG food system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Rose, you're recognized.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to this hearing. My name is Melissa Rose, and I worked at the Lake City Fred Meyer for almost 5 years. I've taken on roles in almost every department and have held a variety of titles, but I'm currently the lead of the Health, Food, and Beauty Department. For those who don't know, Lake City is a proud, working-class neighborhood in North Seattle. Like many grocery stores, ours was the anchor shop in our community. We've stood at the nexus of several bus lines and within walking distance of both single-family homes and numerous apartment complexes. My wife and I live there. We walk to work, as did many of my coworkers. Elderly people in nearby homes also regularly walked into our store. We were the only pharmacy in the neighborhood, following the closure of both the Walgreens and the Rite Aid. On August 19th of last year, managers started calling groups of employees into closed-door meetings. At these meetings, they told us the store would close in October. They gave us no specific date, and we did not receive an actual official date until a week before we actually closed. The news simply did not make sense to anyone. I've eventually learned from news reports that corporate planned to close quote-unquote low-performing stores, but during my time there, I don't remember a period when our store was not busy. The parking lot was consistently full, the bus lines brought plenty of people in, and as I mentioned, it was a very walkable neighborhood. None of that seemed to matter. Leaving a neighborhood without a pharmacy didn't seem to matter. Whipping the anchor and community out of a middle-class working community didn't seem to matter. The only thing that seemed to matter was corporate's bottom line. Unfortunately, the store closure wasn't the only decision apparently motivated by desire for profits over meeting community needs. I've held so many titles at my store, partly because corporate has been running skeleton crews at our store for years. With staffing so thin, managers regularly have to pull workers from one department to plug a hole in another department. Running that lean makes it extremely difficult to deliver the level of service our customers deserve, contributing to longer lines and empty shelves. It also means we have less time to get our own work done, causing us to feel pressure to skip breaks or even our lunches. This leads to exhaustion and burnout. This makes getting our work done even harder, leading to even more burnout, spiraling out of control. This kind of churn and burn culture of the grocery industry right now makes it hard to retain skilled, experienced workers who can help the store run efficiently and develop relationships with customers to keep them coming back. This is what happens when we allow corporations to grow into giants. We give them the power to crush everything in their path. They grow bigger, they grind down workers, and flatten community stores into numbers on a spreadsheet. And while our union does a great job of fighting for what we need at the bargaining table, their constant growth reduces our power at the bargaining table. These companies are national, but we have to bargain with them local by local. This doesn't have to be the future of grocery work. You have the power to rein in these corporate giants who hollow out our communities and burn through workers. Please use that power to protect access to fresh food and the workers who show up every day to provide it.
Thank you so much. Ms. Chase, you're recognized. And pull those microphones nice and close to you just so we can make sure we hear you. Thank you.
How's that? Good enough? Okay. Good evening, members of Congress. Thank you for the opportunity to testify at today's field hearing. My name is Emily Chase. I'm a co-owner of Chase's Market in Ontario, Oregon. We are a third-generation, 1,800 square foot natural food store, and this summer we will celebrate our 75th anniversary. Since 2014, my business has been one of over 350 members of the Independent Natural Foods Retailers Association, or INFRA, and I currently serve on its board of directors. Together, we represent hundreds of natural food-focused grocery stores serving millions of Americans who rely on local stores for affordability, choice, and access. Independent grocers like mine are an essential part of the food and economic infrastructure of our communities, especially in rural, low-income areas where options are limited and price matters. As the panel knows, grocery retail is highly concentrated. What matters for my testimony is how that concentration shows up on the ground, particularly in distribution and access for independent retailers. When a company controls where food is sold, it influences access to distribution and the terms under which products reach the market. Large chains operate their own distribution centers, but they also rely heavily on shared distributors used by independents, including UNFI and KeHE. I see firsthand how the purchasing power of dominant chains shapes what distributors carry, what turns in the warehouse, and what quietly disappears. As grocery retail has become more consolidated, independent grocery stores, including natural food retailers, have declined in numbers. This coincides with the increased buyer concentration and greater influence by the largest grocery chains, including Kroger and Albertsons, within shared distribution systems. As consolidation increases, bargaining power shifts toward the largest buyers, making it harder for independent stores to access distribution on competitive terms. When independent stores lose access or pay more for the same goods, survival becomes harder. When independents are squeezed, food becomes more expensive, choices disappear, and access shrinks. In grocery retail, we are beholden to what is called points of distribution. In practice, this means that if a product does not work for the biggest chains, my customers may never see it at all, even when demand exists in our community. This limits product differentiation, restricts consumer choice, and slows innovation from small brands that need distribution to grow. Affordability is affected in the same way. Independent grocers buy from the same suppliers as the largest chains, but under very different conditions. Even with Infra's collective supply agreements, independent grocers routinely pay 5 to 15% more at wholesale for the same products. This is why Infra exists. Participation is not about increasing profits, it's about survival and increasing our volume. It allows independent retailers to pool limited leverage and remain viable in a system that increasingly favors scale. In 2024, Infra members collectively saved about $150 million, roughly 27% compared to standard catalog pricing using cost-plus benchmarks. In 2025, those savings exceeded $160 million at similar rates. When independent grocers do receive discounts, we pass those savings directly to our customers. Our margins have not grown as a result. What these agreements do is allow us to compete. A clear example from my own store is Siete Foods. Long before the company was acquired by PepsiCo, we actively advocated with Siete. A store of our size would typically not receive a generous volume discount, but we advocated for ourselves through loyalty to their line and wanted to compete with the Albertsons down the street. Siete granted us an ongoing discount, which we passed directly to our customers. After that acquisition, that discount was reduced from 20% to 15%, and we were required to provide proof that the savings were being passed through to consumers. We complied because passing discounts through is how independent stores operate. What's notable is that even when we receive discounts closer to what larger retailers receive and pass them through, our everyday shelf price often ends up lower, while still meeting the margins we need to operate sustainably. That's not because we have more leverage, it's because independent grocers price for access and affordability. We also both carried a locally produced hummus. Our margin was about 25%, while the nearby large retailer priced it well over 40%. My priority was affordability, not maximizing margin on my small indie supplier. The same is true for my local egg supplier. They do not have the scale or distribution relationships to sell into large chains. Independent grocers like mine are their route to market. When consolidation limits our ability to remain open, those producers lose access entirely. Accessibility remains a serious concern. Independent grocers without cooperative supply agreements, particularly in rural areas, experience store closure rates roughly 6 to 7% higher than average. Most of that attrition occurs in rural America, where access to healthy food is needed most. This is not just about independent stores, it's about opportunity. Independent grocers are primary pathway for local and emerging food producers. When access to distribution is fair, consumers see lower everyday prices, communities retain local food access, and small producers gain a foothold in the market. That is not a threat to competition, it is competition working. Independent grocers are not the problem in this system, we are part of the opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kanter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Caucus Chair Jayapal and distinguished members of Congress. Thank you for having me and for this extraordinarily important hearing on this topic that has resonance for so many people throughout the country and here in Washington State. These are not abstract concerns. We just heard chilling accounts from real people living with the real consequences of corporate concentration. It paints an alarming but unmistakable picture. A systemic failure brought on by decades of neglect, a refusal to enforce the laws that were written by Congress more than a century ago. Why? Because Washington made a choice to let the laws turn to rust. We were told that mergers and concentrated power would produce efficiencies that would eventually trickle down to consumers, workers, and farmers. The trickle never came, though. Barely a drop. And yet, the multinational corporations that control our food system are thriving. So what do we do now? Well, we have a choice now. And the solution doesn't have to be complicated, because most of the tools that we need have been on the books for over 100 years. The Sherman Act to break up monopolies and prevent collusion, the Clayton Act to block mergers and prevent further concentration, the Packers and Stockyards Act to protect farmers from unfair and abusive conduct, the Robinson-Patman Act to make pricing fair. All of these are hiding in plain sight. And for more than 50 years, they worked really, really well. We saw unprecedented growth in our country, the creation of a thriving middle class that was the envy of the world. Then, beginning in the 1980s, we lost our way. Enforcement waned, agencies stepped back, courts intervened, and the voice of farmers and small businesses and rural communities faded, drowned out by PAC checks and corporate lobbying. During my time at the Department of Justice, we made a choice. We made a choice to leave that pattern behind and to fight for the first time ever in the history of the Department of Justice to enforce the Packers and Stockyards Act, to bring cases to break up companies, to take on collusion, raising the prices, to take on the tournament system that would turn farmers into Uber drivers. That only scratched the surface. What happens now is also a choice. At a moment when the federal government seems to have unlimited resources to deploy ICE agents in cities like Minneapolis and Portland, very far from the southern border, just imagine what that money can do if it was used to enforce the Packers and Stockyards Act, to protect access of farmers to natural resources like power and water, to stop rigging at cattle auctions, to block mega mergers, to support fair pricing for local grocers, and to end food deserts. That too is a choice. And that is an enforcement agenda that would not only help people, but it would unite the country in the process. Now, there are simple things in addition that Congress can do, in addition to the laws on the books, and remarkably, none of them would cost a dime to taxpayers. Make it clear that the Packers and Stockyards Act means what it actually says on the page, not with what some activist judges have done to narrow it down. Protect the right to farmers to repair their own damn tractors. Give the Department of Justice independent authority to initiate Packers and Stockyards Act cases without the bureaucratic referral process from USDA. And demand enforcement of the laws already on the books, and protect access of family farmers and rural communities to affordable power and water, particularly at a time when data centers are consuming natural resources and proliferating at an alarming rate. These are not radical ideas, they're not expensive, and as I said, they come at virtually no cost, if at absolutely no cost to taxpayers. So let's learn from our past mistakes, because when it comes to farm to table, these are the table stakes. Let's make a good choice and let's make it count. Thank you.
Very powerful testimony from all of you. Thank you so much. We'll now proceed under the 5-minute rule of questions, and I'll start with my questions. And I want to start, Ms. Rose, with you. I led the amicus brief opposing the Albertsons-Kroger merger with many of my colleagues in Congress and Senator Wyden on the Senate side. I know you said you worked at the Fred Meyers in Lake City for multiple years. Kroger, which owns that location, attempted to merge with its main competitor, Albertsons, in 2022. You and your fellow union members raised a number of concerns at the time about that merger. and when the merger was announced, and I wondered if you could go into some of those concerns, some of the things that you were most concerned about when that merger was announced.
Yeah, so the major thing that everyone immediately clommed onto was that this would raise prices. Within days of the merger being announced, customers had heard of it and were like kind of coming for him and going like, hey, so did you hear that announcement about the merger? They say it's going to lower prices, and then they usually laugh. It was a big joke, like everything that the corporate said that like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. This is going to help consumers. Both employees and consumers were just thought it was a completely ridiculous idea.
Mr. Kanter, leading up to that announcement, there had been over 3 decades of large grocery stores, large grocery chains buying up both smaller regional rivals as well as other national rivals, like the 2015 merger between Safeway and Albertsons. Do those past mergers validate that concern about price, but also some of the concerns around store closures and other things that were raised by Ms. Rose, and also in some of the consequences that we've seen?
Most definitely. We saw for a 20, 30-year period, communities that had access to 6, 7, or 8 grocery stores go down to 1 or 2. At the same time, we saw our independent grocery stores and small businesses being squeezed. It's interesting because Kroger, Fred Meyer used to be 2 separate companies, Kroger and Fred Meyer. We didn't need to be this way. And each time, there were promises that prices would go down, which they didn't. And then there were promises that if they divested certain grocery stores, competition would be restored. And that was the prevailing paradigm for how the agencies reviewed mergers. And they were wrong. Those divestitures didn't work, and they didn't preserve competition. Now we need to get more vigilant. We need to stop those mergers.
And is that why the courts agreed with the Federal Trade Commission and the Washington State Attorney General that the merger was unlawful and couldn't continue?
It's absolutely why. And because they had the courage to take them to court and present a judge with a case, they won. And they protected competition. We need to do that more.
Ms. Duran, I want to turn to you. In addition to swallowing up other grocery chains, one of the reasons that stores like Kroger and Walmart got bigger and more profitable is that they benefit from these steep discounts that we've heard spoken about from large distributors like United Natural Foods and KeHE. Is that how you say it? KeHE. What challenges do you face when negotiating with big grocers and big distributors to get your product on the shelf?
So it really depends because normally the distributor has most of the control of the relationship. We do negotiate with the buyer, but the distributor is the one who places the price on the product. And so we don't really have much control over that.
And when large grocery store chains buy up smaller retailers, what impact does that have on your business?
So normally it just we just lose an account, but it does affect, our revenue. But also it comes with a lot of different stuff, like if there's certain things that grocery store was doing, for example, if there's like a slotting fee or something like that, we have to kind of deal with that. So there's all these other things that come with it when those sort of mergers happen.
A lot of impact that you have to deal with. Thank you so much. My time has expired. I now recognize Representative Surratt for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Congresswoman Jayapal, and thank you to the Monopoly Busters Caucus for holding this field hearing, and thank you to all of our witnesses for your really compelling testimonies that covered the entire landscape. As you can imagine, high prices at the grocery store are one of the things that I hear about most in my district, and at the same time, the 8th Congressional District, our economy really hinges on agriculture. I have the apple capital of the world. And so I am hearing from producers, growers, orchardists, ranchers, dairymen of all types, that they are not seeing the profits when grocery store prices are rising, that they are getting pennies on the dollar. And so I wanted to highlight a lot of what we just heard just now. So price gouging is happening at multiple levels, from the brand consolidation that Ms. Jayapal talked about, to grocery store consolidations. Like, we know that 3 beverage companies control 90% of the soda market. The pediatrician is not encouraging consumption of soda. But what you should know is that in recent years, they are purposely manufacturing less, so hiring fewer people, charging more, and making even more profit. And similarly, Kraft Heinz controls 65% of the cheese market. Also, manufacturing less, charging more, padding their profits, reducing competition. 3 companies control 80% of the chocolate market. That's okay if it's dark chocolate. And the same deal with skyrocketing profits. You have noticed that in the grocery store, I'm sure. And then, of course, we just heard that 4 meat packing companies control more than 80% of the beef market. And Mr. Calgary, you really described that well, and I wanted to dive in just a little bit here. The average retail price of choice beef in December 2024, when we're looking across all final beef products, was double what the ranchers were actually paid. But if you look back, and you talked about history a little bit, producers in 1970, prior to all of this consolidation, were paid about 2/3 of the retail price. And then since 2024, things have only gotten worse, and some producers are only getting 1/3 of that retail value. So basically, as I said, consumers are paying more. Ranchers, who are spending significantly more on labor and inputs, are barely getting by. And growers in my district actually were so worried about this merger, because then there would be no competition. They turn into price takers and not price makers. And this would only exacerbate that, that lack of fairness. I already told you that orchardists just get pennies on the dollar. They are just pawns in this system, and it is no wonder then that we are losing family farms at an alarming rate. Mr. Calcrate, thank you. Can you tell us about how other producers are faring, and how many of them have successfully done what you've done with just going independent, and also maybe whether you can even find local butchers?
I don't know of very many. In fact, I know of 2 that have done what I've done. Greg Gunthorpe in Indiana has sold into the wholesale market, but hasn't gone all the way to the retail level, which is where the real dollars are. You've got, it's between the packer and the retailer is where the real money is. And the retail, because of the power of a Walmart, Kroger, Albertson, Safeway, they have the power now to push down on the packer. So it used to be the packer, exerted power in both directions, down to the producer and up to the retailer. And since COVID, really, the retailer has really dominated, and they've now pushed down on the packer. And so you've got to go to retail. Will Harris is another one that has got on-farm slaughter like I do, like Greg does, and they are now just starting to look at some opportunity in Atlanta to sell to the retail. But the problem is, it just takes too much capital, it takes too much skilled labor, and those cutters do not exist. They just don't exist.
I'm running out of time, but
we de-skilled the industry.
Thank you for making that point.
Welcome.
I'm running out of time. I just want to emphasize that I also fought really hard on behalf of the consumers and the apple growers in my district to block this merger. And I want to thank you, Mr. Kanter. I didn't get to my question for you, but I want to thank you for your successfully fighting this and blocking that merger. And rest assured, we will be taking on these mergers and the consolidation of the retail industry. Thank you. Yield back.
Thank you so much, Representative Schreier. I now recognize Representative Hoyle for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having this hearing. I represent a rural and predominantly rural and coastal area with a lot of farmers, ranchers, commercial fishermen, and we're proud of the role that we play in feeding the world locally grown good food. But what we saw with Kroger a few years ago, like overnight, they decided not to purchase organic fruit and vegetables from our local farmers who had already planned for that. We have our farmers and ranchers one natural disaster away from going under. Right now, a farmer gets an average of 14 cents per dollar spent at the grocery store, and they don't have the leverage to negotiate. Mr. Calcrate, I think you spoke to that incredibly well. Beef is at a record high, but our ranchers are not getting that money. I want to focus on something else, and that is the end pricing. I know UFCW has been fantastic in working to stop dynamic pricing, where consumers will get different prices, where prices will change overnight. A lot of my constituents, and certainly at points in my life, come to pay for their groceries, and if it's 50 cents more, they have to figure out what necessary thing they need to put back. So, Ms. Rose, could you talk about maybe some of the things that you're seeing, and certainly that UFCW is doing, to highlight how dangerous this is, and also how this technology could be used to against workers and workers organizing?
Yeah, so UFCW 3000 has been recently focusing on that significantly due to the fact that one major focus has been on what people refer to as surge pricing, whereas with the ability to rapidly alter prices during the day, they would then dynamically alter the price of a good for much in the same way that, like a cab might charge you more during a busy period. Your bread price will literally go up to maybe $1, $2, $3 more during the busiest part of the day, versus it'll be, a more affordable price when most people aren't able to get there. Also, additional things that we have seen a lot of concern about is the digital coupons, in particular among, I suspect, more rural. I work in the city, so primarily what I've seen is older people who don't have a smartphone or don't want to have a smartphone, looking at all of these digital coupons and going, well, I can't get these, what am I doing? And having a great deal of difficulty with that. So yeah, both of those have been big focuses with when we were partnering with Katie Wilson during her campaign for mayor. It's there.
And then, Ms. Chase, first of all, thank you. And I've been to your store.
Oh, lovely.
And I love it because I try and shop in independent stores, because you get better choice, you get better options, and we know that money is not going to stockholders somewhere, it is staying in our community. What is the most important thing that we need to know as members of Congress that we can do to help ensure that stores like yours can actually compete?
I think it comes down to leverage and how much leverage the big grocers have. They're incentivized totally different than your indie stores are. And I think, independents, we really have an important place, because we help discipline those prices just by existing. And speaking a bit to what Ms. Rose said, with the technology aspect of it, we don't have the type of funds to rapidly change, our pricing. That's going to be like your electronic shelf tags that'll do that. It'll be like instantaneous. And so we really need help keeping a finger on the leverage aspect of it and their ability to buy at such great prices. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. And now I recognize Ms. Randall.
Thank you so much, Representative Jayapal, and to my colleagues on the Monopoly Busters Caucus for being here for this critical hearing today. So this map that shows this food desert is squarely in my district. I represent the Olympic Peninsula, Clallam, Jefferson, Grace Harbor County. Do we all stand up and wave? Are they motion activated? You can't see it now, but it's half of the peninsula. Very dramatic. And this is really stark and important for me, because I first started thinking about mergers and consolidations, not in the grocery store space, but in the healthcare space, because on our side of the water, those healthcare mergers really drove community to begin understanding what those price impacts meant, what the accessibility and availability impacts meant. And our colleagues at UFCW 3000 were on the front lines of that organizing work as well. Over the last decade, hospital consolidation has reduced competition, increased healthcare costs, suppressed wages, while placing enormous pressure on healthcare workers, just like we have heard on grocery store workers. When large hospital systems, like large grocery systems, buy smaller hospitals and decrease staffing ratios, eliminate service lines, or raise prices to boost profits, patients face higher costs, less care, and worse health outcomes. It's the same playbook in industry after industry after industry. Like Kroger, Albertsons, Fred Meyer, Safeway, when the big three PBMs, CVS, Caremark, Cigna, and United Health Corp, account for nearly 80% of US prescription drug claims, they wield outsized power, leaving patients unable to afford life-saving medications. Thoughts that are in so many people's minds when they're in the grocery store too. Are you able to afford your produce and your prescription from week to week or month to month? And when private equity firms control hospitals, nursing homes, emergency room staffing, like when they invest in grocery stores, they use that power to cut care, raise prices, and sacrifice the impact on individuals, whether those are consumers or patients, to line their own pockets. It's simple that these big mega corporations are in the business of enriching themselves. And we are told over and over that consolidation will lead to efficiencies, but instead, market power is being concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. That's why I fought hospital and health system consolidation here in Washington State, and why I'm excited to be a part of the Monopoly Busters Caucus to work on grocery store consolidation and healthcare consolidation in the other Washington. Mr. Kanter, in healthcare, consolidation is often justified as increasing efficiency, yet prices rise and quality suffers. How are you seeing the same dynamic play out in the food supply chain, and how does consolidation across multiple stages increase the harm to consumers and workers?
It's the cascading effect. So what we saw in healthcare and what we see in healthcare is the tyranny of the middleman. More money is being captured by the entities in the middle. Less money is being shared with the people who deliver the care, who invent the solutions, and in the pockets of the patients. We're seeing the same thing happen. More money is being made. It's just not being shared with the people who produce the food, who sell the food, who package the food as independents. And we're seeing higher prices for consumers. The money's being lost. It's being extracted in the middle.
Thank you so much. Ms. Chase, similar to some of the issues you faced as an independent grocer going head to head with corporate giants, independent hospitals, like, I don't know that we have any left, struggle to compete against large systems with massive purchasing power. You shared some fascinating information about how small retailers like yours are uniquely suited to working with some small producers. But as a small grocer, how do dominant corporations' pricing power and control over suppliers make it harder for you to compete?
So the pricing aspect of it, that has to do more with just the leverage and their buying power. So they can go and they can talk to the brand specifically and negotiate their own deals that they want. And then they can also go through our distributors and purchase the same products at a much lower price, I assume, than what we can. And then as far as like, also with the suppliers, there's so much information. With the suppliers, they control what products are in those distribution centers when we have shared distributors. So, you know, they control with their numbers, it's the points of distribution. And even the frequency alone that they receive orders versus like a small independent makes a big difference because they'll get more orders per week than even what we can, so, yeah.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Thank you. We now have time for some public testimony. One of the things we want to do with this public hearing is make sure we're hearing from people about what you're seeing in at your grocery store with the small businesses around. And so we're going to start at the microphone over here. I see we already have somebody who's ready to go. And we ask that you keep your remarks to about 2 minutes so we can hear from as many people as possible. Sir, please.
Hi, I'm Brian Gilderoy. I'm a grocery worker. I've been a grocery worker for
1 second. Is that mic on?
Testing, hello?
There you go.
There we go. Okay, let me start over. Hi, my name is Brian Gilderoy. I am a grocery worker. I've been a grocery worker for 25 years. I've been a produce clerk at Fred Meyer since 2008, and for the last 15 years, I was working at Fred Meyer on Kent East Hill, this store that closed. I love my customers. They're hard working class people, and I loved helping them find the ingredients for their meals and telling them the occasional bad dad joke. All that came to a halt in August when we were all ushered to a private meeting in groups and informed that our store would be closing, despite the fact that we were continued to be busy. We were up in sales, but apparently not enough. After the shock wore off, we were all kind of upset and worried that we might, it might not work out for us on getting transferred to other stores. Luckily, our union did help us, but there was quite a few people who got transferred to stores that was actually, because a lot of us took buses, could not take the bus there to the store that they got transferred to, so they chose to quit instead of continuing on. This is all in favor of Wall Street and not Southeast 240th Street, our local neighborhoods. This is all in favor of the shareholder rather than the customer. This is all in favor of short-term profits versus long-term goals and long-term serving the community. And quite frankly, it needs to stop. This kind of economics only has one outcome, and that is foreclosure on everything and selling it out to the highest bidder, like all of our other favorite brands and stores that have already closed thanks to private equity and other big profits and consolidations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Adrian Reina Chaboya. I lived here in Seattle for about 8 years. I used to be your constituent, but now I'm in Adam Smith's district. But I'm really grateful that you all are doing this. This is pioneering, this is very smart, and we need more leadership like this. One thing I want to encourage is to look more closely at the role of big tech companies in the rise of food prices. And they're insistent in surveilling every single move that we do as consumers. Recent reports show that platforms like Instacart have used algorithmic pricing and data dominance to influence food prices and entrench market power. So really want to encourage members of Congress and regulators to do everything that you can to stop digital price fixing and this exclusionary conduct. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
My name is Beth Lowry. I live here in Seattle. And I just wanted to comment or maybe open the floor up to something that Mr. Kanter talked about, is the consolidation in the equipment that is used on farms. I think it's now down to, like, is it John Deere and Caterpillar are the two main providers of equipment. But now it's all the equipment that they have not only cannot be repaired by the farmer, but it's they're like subscriptions to, it's so technology oriented that something will stop functioning on your combine if you haven't paid, or you can't repair it yourself, or it takes someone 2 weeks to get out there. This has huge impacts on if you're a hay farmer and you can't get the hay in and it spoils on the field. Well, then it doesn't get to the cattle or whoever, the animals that need to be fed. So then sometimes farmers need to, or ranchers need to cull their herds. So I just want to add that to the mix and maybe open up for comment. Thank you.
We'll see if we have more public testimony. Do we have more public testimony? Yeah, please. And we'll see if we can get a round of comments for our witnesses as well. We were definitely going to do response from members.
Hi, my name is Kat Grana. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, but I lived in Corvallis, Oregon from 2019 to 2023, yes. While I was in Corvallis, I worked at the Corvallis Clinic, which was a local physician-owned medical clinic that provided services in many different specialty areas. Unfortunately, back in 2024, Optum acquired the Corvallis Clinic. While I'm no longer living in Corvallis, my brother lives there. I still have friends and family there. And I recently heard that they will be closing their OBGYN department. I'm very concerned about this. The other largest medical facility in the area is Samaritan, and then Providence over on the coast. And I know they don't necessarily provide the same services that Corvallis Clinic provides. But that is an area I have concern about, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Other public, please.
Hi, my name is, that's loud. Hi, my name is Adrienne Atkins. I am a current master's student at the University of Washington, studying public health, and currently in my dietetic internship. And for my thesis project, I'm currently doing a study on food security in Washington State. So I have 5 years of survey data that I'm working with, and I've used that to find 30 participants to complete qualitative research. So we did hour-long structured interviews with these participants. And something that I'm hearing over and over again, I'm still in the analysis phase, so I can't give you complete findings, but I just want to reiterate something I'm hearing over and over again is how the cost of living and cost of food has really impacted participants' food security. I'm specifically focusing on individuals who have transitioned in and out of food security over the course of the 5 years of the study. And I can just say that we're seeing this across all participants of different income ranges, participants who are well above the poverty line. So I just want to reiterate that that is a huge concern for Washington residents of all income ranges, and just a diverse population of residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your research. Representative, we're so happy to have you here.
Okay. Thank you so much for hosting this. I'm Daria Farivar. I'm a state representative in the 46th Legislative District in Seattle. I live half a mile from the Fred Meyer that closed in Lake City. And so this has taken a lot of my time and attention and focus this year in this legislative session. I'm so grateful that you all are working on the issue of mergers and monopolies, and the long-term work that needs to happen to revision our system. I want to just mention a couple of things that we're working on here in the Washington State Legislature this year to make sure that folks continue to have access to fresh and healthy food, because we just can't wait. Folks need food now. They need access right now. This session, I've introduced 3 bills that get at long-term, short-term, intermediate solutions that focus on trying to protect communities, that focus on trying to incentivize folks serving underserved communities, and look at long-term solutions. We have legislation introduced that prohibits any groceries or pharmacies from putting covenants on properties after they leave, after they sell it, so that we can still make sure that other groceries and pharmacies can come in and serve communities. We're working on legislation that opens up the possibility of municipal grocery stores or nonprofit grocery stores, public-private partnerships as well, because in these situations where private companies are leaving, we do need to allow for folks to step in and other creative solutions to ensure that folks have access to healthy food. And then lastly, we're working on legislation, and it's interesting and exciting because it seems to be something that everyone can agree on between business and workers and community members and nonprofits and food banks, you name it, which is really trying to incentivize groceries of all different types, but especially small, independent, cultural grocery stores from going in and serving our communities and staying in underserved communities through a package of tax incentives. And so I want to thank you all for the important work that you all are doing, and know that we have your back here locally, and we are trying to deliver real solutions as soon as possible for our communities so they do not lose access to food. So thank you very much.
Please.
Hi, my name is Aiden. I'm a farmer in Carnation, about 40 minutes east of here. In a prior life, I was also an academic and a policy analyst specialized in local and regional food systems policy, and I still teach classes at the University of Washington. In fact, Adrian, good to see you. I want to just highlight a couple of things. One, it's been touched on, but is worker safety. This administration has rolled back regulations on, for instance, worker safety, line speeds in processing plants in chicken and meat slaughter facilities. That is, while it might seem tangential, it is directly related to the consolidation of this industry, and I want to re-highlight that. Another thing I'd like to kind of emphasize is in academia, we don't tend to get, we kind of joke that things aren't real until an economist discovers it. So those of us in policy and social sciences, my colleagues in rural sociology, we have 80 years of research that points to how locally owned, locally facing businesses produce greater civic engagement, greater economic viability, greater economic equality, and that is deeply tied into if those businesses cannot survive, and mine is a struggling small farm business, then communities as a whole suffer as well. Another thing I want to highlight, and this goes to Mr. Kanter, and thank you for your work, I really appreciate it, is the legal nature of this. These are solvable problems, and most of it is legal interpretation of laws that are already on the books, as well as the political will. I'm looking at you, representatives. Thank you for being here, but I'm looking at you. The political will to push through judges that will interpret laws not based on the consumer welfare standard that has been the standard of interpretation since Bork. I will not say anything else about him, pushed that through many decades ago. That is, by the way, the basis for the interpretation that promises lower prices, but we don't actually get those lower prices with consolidation. This is a legal interpretation matter, and what I'm looking for from my representatives is, what are you going to do to throw every energy at the courts, because we need a sea change in courts in order to help push many of these through. So I just want to re-highlight those things. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we are almost right on time with where we thought we would be. So we're going to go to closing statements and responses to what we heard. Oh, go ahead. I think we can take one more. Is that right?
Hi, my name's Alessandra. I live north of Seattle. I used to work in the food industry, so I think the whole monopoly thing is very important. I got to see it from a totally different point of view. I think another thing to look at is whenever small brands are trying to break in with retailers and the price hike, there's not really anybody to take responsibility for it. I saw it where we did a price increase on our product in like 2023, yet the retailer kept doing price increases until 2025. Sales were going down and we were getting pushed out of it, and they were favoring their private label because they had a higher profitability off of it. So I think it's important to not only break these out, but also find a place where they take responsibility for what they're doing. And also similar to the Instacart thing, what they do on their apps, also similar price dynamics and all that. And I also wanted to say thank you for this.
Wonderful. We love being able to be out in the field and taking public testimony. It's really such a wonderful thing. We're going to go to closing statements, and I'll back cleanup. So we'll start with Ms. Schreier.
Well, I again want to emphasize how grateful I am for this hearing, for all of your engagement, and for all of our witnesses. I think we've all learned even more deeply about how consolidation is driving up prices. It's supporting the big guy, throwing the little guy under the bus, whether the little guy is a rancher or a farmer or a worker or an entrepreneur trying to get the pupusas into the markets. And I was fascinated to also hear that an independent grocer that has to pay more wholesale is able to keep prices lower. And I think that just really underlines just how much profit these gigantic grocery stores are making. And we have all had enough of it. I want to thank you, Mr. Kanter, for your work. I want to note that it was done during an administration where we had a fully staffed FTC, where we had you, where we had an administration that felt similarly to how the people in this room are feeling. Now we have an uphill battle. The 2 Democratic members of the FTC have been fired. Supreme Court was okay with that. So we are losing the tools that we need. And that is why we will all be fighting to make these things law. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Boyle.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for being here and also to the witnesses. You know, we are in a very different time, but what I can tell you is I have talked about, for instance, the Stop Price Gouging at Grocery Stores Act, which UFCW is a proud supporter of, and I have talked about it in the areas where Trump won by 36% in those districts, to the place where Kamala won by 24%, and to a person. They support this. Monopoly busting is not a partisan issue, right? This is about protecting consumers. And to the young woman that talked about what happened in Corvallis, yes, United Healthcare came in, Optum, bought our local clinics, and then when the doctors left, barred them from being able to work in our communities and fired patients that were on Medicaid. So working with our legislature, we were able to, and our governor, let them know that it wouldn't be a good idea to take away our doctors in communities that are already don't have enough access to medical care. And you know, Representative Jayapal, Ryan, myself, Senator Merkley, and Warren put up the Patients Over Profits Act, preventing large insurance companies and their subsidiaries from buying up clinics. But this is in every aspect of our world. We have to stop monopolies. This is bad for consumers. This is bad for producers. It is bad for our economy. And again, I think it's hard when you live in either a blue area or red area. Understand this is not a partisan issue. And so I hope we take this on the road everywhere.
Yeah, fantastic. Representative Randall.
Thank you so much, Representative Jayapal. And again, thank you to everyone for being here and participating. One of the striking things for me about being in Congress is that there's much less public comment than we have in the legislature, and I am reminded how important it is to bring the voices of neighbors from all across the state and community to inform our work. So thank you for making the space for that. I couldn't agree more with my colleagues. We have to do everything we can to stop this consolidation because it is a nonpartisan issue. You know, the people who live down long driveways in rural parts of the Olympic Peninsula know particularly well that they are losing whatever party they vote for, they are losing when big businesses are getting richer and richer, and they're getting less and less access to healthcare, to groceries, to buying power. When we see this dynamic pricing change the way that rents are calculated and grocery prices are calculated and healthcare is calculated, it's harder and harder for people to get by. And that's what we hear over and over around the country, that folks are just trying to get by, and it's our job to use every tool at our disposal to ensure folks can build their own lives and futures. And that means using some regulations to hold accountable big profit motivated industries that are just trying to get rich off the backs of regular people. So thanks for being here, and I'm so excited to be a partner in this work.
One of the great things about doing a field hearing is that you get to control what happens. It doesn't have to go according to the schedule. So I want to give our witnesses also an opportunity to say any last word, and then I will truly back clean up after you all. So we'll start with you, Mr. Callicrate.
Yes, thank you. Just because we block a merger doesn't necessarily mean we've accomplished all we want to accomplish. Cisco US Foods, Jonathan, when was that merger denied? We celebrated it in my industry. Yeah, it was about 10 years ago, and we were successful in blocking that merger. But that doesn't mean they don't cooperate after getting to know each other very well during the consideration of the merger. The same way with Kroger and Albertsons. We're seeing Kroger stores close, or we're seeing Safeways close. You can see how they're strategizing. It's like they've been talking to each other, right? And I would invite you to pull out your phones and look up the return on equity for Cisco. Be careful, it's SYSCO. There are indicators of market power, and that is an amazing return on equity. That is monopoly power. And so I want to really encourage us to look at building the alternative food system. We need to, the representative talked about maybe perhaps some locally owned, whatever, supported stores. But I like this idea of a maker-owned market, where the baker and the butcher and the brewer and the coffee roaster, they all actually own the real estate together. They're not paying rent to a landlord. And after 20 or 30 years, they've got equity. They own it. In year 8 of a 10-year lease, they're not letting the paint go. They're not letting the thing fall apart. They've got a long-term vision. And I just love the idea of the synergy that comes when you co-locate with a lot of other people that care about it like you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please.
I was not really prepared for a closing statement.
And you don't have to. It's just really if you have anything you wanted to add, don't feel obliged.
Okay, well, I'll say this. So I work with farmers in Arlington, Washington, where I have my manufacturing facility. And so I work with a lot of independent farmers there, and I, use those products to make, their stuff to make my product, right? And so it's a lot of work. And so one of the things that I would say is, make sure to support small brands. A lot of us are in, retailers, and sometimes we're in bigger retailers too, and it costs us money to be on the shelves. And also working with the big distributors, it costs us money too, but for us, it's very important to have the velocity on shelf, to stay on those shelves, and for the products to stay there, because the consumer is very important to us, right? In order for us to sustain the ecosystem that we're in. And so, I do work with some ranchers, which I will start doing that because I will have a new product that contains meat in it. And then I work with also the retailer and then the distributor who's in the middleman. And I also work with the grocery store clerks and, folks. So I work with every single touch point. So for me to be here is very important because I get to share the story and talk about how small brands like myself that are consumer packaged goods brands, and I'm also a manufacturer. I just want to make sure that all of you understand those are two different points, because manufacturers produce and make products, a consumer packaged goods product is the stuff you see on shelves. And those are two different things, and they cost a lot of money. So make sure to just support small brands, and you'll see them on shelves. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rand. Ms. Rose.
I would like to follow up on what Mr. Calacrete said, though, in that that they will find a way to make their profits even when we do things like block these mergers. Like, me and my fellow coworkers all knew that there would be fewer stores if the merger got blocked or if it went through. Because if the merger goes through, well, now they have much less competition. They can just remove a bunch of stores from various areas. Like, there's a Safeway just a bit north of Lake City up there. Why would they keep that Safeway there and the Fred Meyer's on Lake City? Yeah, one of them was going to have to go if the merger went through. If the merger doesn't go through, they still need to get their profits up, so they're going to consolidate to fewer locations, because that means that they're paying less in maintenance, that they're paying less in jobs, they're paying less in rent, they're paying less in everything. But they are able to externalize those costs to the customers. They don't care that the customer has to now drive an additional 20 minutes. That's not a cost to them. So yeah, we have to focus on the fact that, like, we can get wins, but we do have to keep up the momentum. We need to prevent them from, like, we can block one merger, but then they're going to find the next way to make their profits and their next way to screw over workers and consumers. So yeah, I think that we need to continue forward with a very strong alliance of our labor union, of our labor movement, and legislative unions. So,
thank you so much. Ms. Chase.
I think what I would like to end with is, in order to strengthen food at a local level, you really have to support those local producers that are in distribution. Like Mr. Rand was saying, it's, you know, your local supplier for eggs, it's greens, it's face and body care. Those, when you have the opportunity to support those brands, I would really encourage you all to do so.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kanter, I know you have a lot to say on a lot of the questions that came up.
I'll be quick. First of all, you're absolutely right. Tractors shouldn't be subscription services. You should buy a tractor and you should be able to fix it. This is raising costs, and the cost of the parts are going up. The ability to fix them, the cost is going up. Inability to fix them and trade them in. All of these things are be problems. We need to address those issues. The point about the judges, I couldn't agree with it. Oh my goodness. The courts have eroded the rights of people, the rights of consumers, the rights of farmers, the rights of businesses. We heard about that important case. Courts took the words of Congress in the Packers and Stockyards Act and narrowed it away. Not because you said so, because they decided that it was economically efficient without going to Congress to ask. These are choices. And we need to make choices about judges, representatives, people in policy positions, people in political positions who are going to fight for you, who are going to fight to make sure that we're putting people ahead of businesses and corporations. And ultimately, there's more we can do. We can't undo 40 years of bad policy in 4 days, but we can certainly damn try.
Fantastic. Well, this was really, really wonderful. I want to thank all of our witnesses and my colleagues for coming. Look, the reason we called it the Monopoly Busters Caucus and not the Antitrust Caucus is because we want people to make the connection between consolidation and monopolies and what is happening to your own lives and livelihoods. And I think we got such a good schooling, really, from our witnesses about the different parts of consolidation, how it's affecting small businesses, how it's affecting innovation, and how it's affecting workers and consumers. And I think for me, we are going to have to enforce the laws we have. That was something that the Biden DOJ did, that Jonathan Kanter, Lena Khan, others did during the Biden administration, and now we're seeing a real rollback of that. We are going to have to block mergers, but your point is well taken that just blocking a merger does not, it's a victory because you're challenging the consolidation piece of it, but you're not necessarily solving the entire problem. But it is important, and we do have to pass new laws, and I'm grateful to Representative Farwar for her work on this in the state legislature. I know the mayor is taking this issue very seriously as well. I think there's a lot of things that we can do within our cities to make sure that we're cracking down on this consolidation as well. Somebody raised the role of big tech, and this is something that we've really been looking a lot at, and we hope that we have some legislation that perhaps we can roll out around this, because I do think that surveillance pricing, AI, all of the different ways in which technology is being used to facilitate the consolidation and the profits of big corporations and hurt workers is really important. Mr. Kanter and I were at UW Law School today, and I said to the room of, I don't know, what was it, about 150 people or something, students, that they're the next set of judges, right? We have to rethink how antitrust has been enforced, and I think we have a lot of work to do there. And then I'll just say that on healthcare, because that was raised several times, and obviously Representative Randall talked about it as well, we're doing other field hearings that will be specifically on healthcare. And you're right, Representative Randall, that the pattern is the same. And that's part of what Monopoly Busters is trying to take on. So I really appreciate you all for being here and for helping us to sort through this, and also for making the connections between these giant corporations that are essentially owning everything that we do and leaving us with fewer and fewer choices, worse jobs, more disrepair in our communities, and fewer small businesses. We love our small businesses. I appreciate the UFCW workers who also talk about how much they love their jobs, because I know for me, my grocery store is really important, and I know all the people that work there. So it's really such a chain of important factors that have been raised tonight, and I thank you all for being here and for helping us to conduct a very successful first field hearing of the Monopoly Busters Caucus.